subscribe, hit that notification button. Don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that. Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. I am joined this evening by David Piatek over at VA Housing Education. How we doing, David?
Good, Dwayne. Every time you do that introduction and I'm like over here, I don't have a video for that in my title, even though I do have a video for that. So make sure you guys check out my channel and search it, because we have over 200 videos all around VA home loans, how it works, budgeting, credit. But Dwayne, thanks for having me on again. I think for once you could ask me about the weather and I'll say that it's really warm. So not like Tampa warm, but I think Chicago is getting there.
You know, my wife is in Chicago right now. She landed earlier today.
Oh,
And
nice.
I asked her how the weather was, and they're staying downtown, and she was like, "Man, the weather's going to be crappy. Why is it 5 degrees colder downtown than it is out where your cousins live in Plainfield?"
Because they have no
Always.
hearts there. That's why. That's because they're cold people. That's why.
Yeah. So yeah, they're up there taking in the sights, and yeah. So I don't know. I was just telling my uncle, he lives out in Berkeley.
Oh, yeah.
Berkeley, and he was like, I told him, I said, "Hey, I want to bring her back because I want to go to the Taste of Chicago. I haven't been there in a while. I miss the food, so you may be seeing me here in a couple of months."
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely let me know. It'd be good
All
to
right,
see
we'll
you
do.
again.
Will do. So this evening, everyone, we are going to be taking some questions. So make sure you go ahead and get those likes up. We have about 46 people in right now, and we're going to get into some Q&A. Today's topic, we are going to be diving into VA fraud under the home loan and compensation side. Some of the information I got to share with you guys this evening is going to shock you. Okay. Dave and I, we still trying to get together. We heard us talk about it before. We want to do another live stream that's 4 hours, but we are super busy. But we will let everyone know when we're going to do that live. Probably push it back summer sometime, you know, because I know we just got a lot of things going on. Okay. So Dave, we'll start with you as it pertains to VA fraud on the home loan side. Can you take a couple minutes and share some things that you see veterans do that maybe they shouldn't be doing?
There shouldn't be. Yes, there's a lot of things. But one of the things when it comes to the fraud piece in the lending industry in general right now, occupancy fraud is the #1 type of fraud committed by individuals. And what occupancy fraud means is that when you say you're going to live there, you don't. Right. And people try to get clever, and maybe situationally you could make it make sense to a lender. But what happens is sometimes, well, not sometimes, well, a lot of times how people get caught with that is they'll buy a primary residence, right? They'll get insurance for the house as a primary residence. And then what will happen is that as soon as they close, they switch their insurance to an investment insurance policy. So right away, a lender needs to have an updated policy, right? Because why would you carry primary residence insurance on an investment property? And America's greed, you're gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna pay 2 insurances, right? If you're gonna do something bad, don't do it. but like, so you kind of, that becomes an issue. So you have to be really careful, and you can definitely get in trouble because all of that mortgage fraud is investigated by the FBI. You also sign off on a form just letting you know, like, hey, if you're trying to be sneaky, they can catch on to you with that. So just be very mindful when you're in that process. Because I'd say in general, Dwayne, you know, these days, like it's not like the Wild West, like in 2008, where you could do ninja loans, right? No income, no asset loans, where you literally just put your name, social, that's it, and you get a house. Like that doesn't happen anymore. They scrutinize a lot of these, all the documents, your certificate of eligibility. The VA double checks all of that. So it really, puts veterans, I think, in a good position. But Um, yeah, definitely it happens from an occupancy fraud perspective. And what about on your end?
You know, when I rate it, and I tell people I start that with my video. I was actually a rater before I retired, trained by the VA. I saw fraud not only on the outside of the VA, I saw it on the inside of the VA by VA employees.
No.
Yes. And we will receive emails
Um,
about certain things, internal emails about certain things that happen. One thing that I remember was there was some VA employees working in a particular CMP department. I can't remember which VA medical center it was. And this was before, I think this was before they had the private DBQs, right? And
Oh, gotcha.
contractors. And so what these individuals did, they created, I can't remember if they created a fake veteran or used a dead veteran's information. Filed a claim, and they filled out the paperwork, the exams, like the veteran actually went to the exam, but the veteran was deceased. And they had money going to a checking account and they were splitting it. Oh,
What? Okay, well, why?
they wanted their money.
America's greed.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, what? I was like, are you kidding me? Um, and the same thing, there was some other VA employees that used veterans information and were getting, had a check going to a checking account and they were withdrawing that money, so their service connected, probably at 100%. And then they're got this deceased or fake veteran over here, 100%. And they're getting like, probably 10 grand, almost 10 grand a month.
How'd they get caught?
I can't remember. I know one VA employee, the veteran wasn't deceased and went to get a certificate of eligibility. They were like, hey, you're service connected. He was like, no, I'm not. They started digging.
Dang.
And he was like, they like, no, you're 100%. He was like, I never filed a claim before. And it got reported and it got caught. Also, outside the VA, and I tell veterans this, I'm like, file the claim. It's going to be frustrating sometime because the VA compensation claims process is not perfect. People make mistakes. People don't follow the regulations as it pertains to the process. And I've seen, veterans that say, oh, I went to this particular company and they did a DBQ and they said I have this, but I actually don't. And I'm like, well, you don't need to be filing a claim for that. If you don't have an actual diagnosis, do not let any company complete a DBQ for something that you don't have. That is fraud. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And sometimes those fall through the cracks. It may never get caught because the information is coming in. VA employees are looking at it. Yep, it's good to go. They service connect, and the vet rides off in the sunset, right? But you never know. Sometimes the quality team, every month, they will pull 5 ratings that I did, right? And they will review them to make sure I got the effective date correct. Did I grant something that I wasn't supposed to grant? Did I deny something that I was supposed to actually grant? Vice versa. And they could catch something. It happens. I know a lot of the fraud may get, fall through the cracks, but just don't be that veteran. Make sure you do it the right way.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So let's get into some questions, David. We
Yeah,
have.
Well, I know actually add one more thing in
Go
because
ahead.
we've been seeing a lot of this. It's not necessarily fraud related, but veterans getting taken advantage of when it comes to the home buying process.
Oh,
I just had someone actually watches the channel. I got a text message, a call, and then a text like, David, I'm being charged $8,000. Why am I being charged $8,000? This is from a different company, right? So he sends it over and we look at it and I'm like, what is going on here? They charged them an extra $8,000 in fees where we didn't have to charge him that. Right. Like, so not only did you get a lower rate, he had no fees. So you had additional $8,000 in your pocket. So if you know veterans that are out there looking, one of the biggest ways that they get taken advantage of is in using their VA home loan. And I know for VA disability compensation too, Dwayne, there's a lot of people in that same boat. So, make sure that if you're in that process or you know somebody that is thinking about that, have them reach out to us. They can schedule a link with me in the description down below. Because if you want to blow $8,000 and you don't care, you should just
Man,
let Dwayne and I split that. We'll probably
I know, right?
then we can hit the casino or something. I don't know.
Right. And that's what on the compensation side, that's what I tell veterans. I'm like, if you want to work with a VSO, you want to work with a lawyer, claims agent, or a consulting company, that is totally up to you. I think it ought to be your choice, but you need to ask questions. And before you sign something, make sure you read it. Okay. We live in America. We have choices. Work with whoever you want to work with, but understand what you are signing. Okay. So we're going to get into some Q&A here, David.
Let's do it.
LJ, you said number 2 and 3, but you didn't give me number 1. Okay, so I'm just going to try to figure it out. So it says, letter states. Yeah, wait a minute. Yep, here we go. Letter states your current monthly payment is $0. The effective date of the last change to your current payment was invalid date. All other info on app is reflecting correctly. Then it says, let's see, number 3, no current or new open claims or claim letters present. Also, letters printed display VHA and Jacksonville address and not standard VA letterhead. LJ, I have no idea where you were going with that. Okay. I'm assuming you're talking about a summary benefit letter that they send, meaning VBA sends at the end of every year around December 15th or something like that. I know you said the app. I don't know if you're online or exactly what you're looking at. If you're not getting paid anything, I don't think the VA was, I don't want to go there. Contact 800-827-1000 and ask them to send you a benefit summary letter. That'll tell you the percentage of service connected for, because you could be 0% for, a certain condition. And yes, you're not getting anything. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. LJ says, hey, smash that like button. Yep. Be humble. Hello.
Yeah,
Thank you
always
for
on the
tuning
video.
in. You know who this is, David.
Yeah.
You know who that is.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Yep. I wonder if her and her husband bought that house in Louisiana. I know she talked about that during the live stream last year. Okay. And we have Grace Smith. Grace Smith, she's been a supporter of mine. She's always teased me. Dwayne, are you going to be snitching? Well, Grace, I actually already snitched earlier, gave people some good information. So thank you for tuning in. All right. We got one of our members here. Hello from New Orleans. Okay. Got 504 in the house. Okay. All right. All right. Another member here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get some questions going here, y'all. Let's get some questions. Yes. And I was just shocked. The first time I saw that email, and that wasn't the only, Dave, that wasn't the only one on there. They had multiple.
Yeah.
It's just one instance. And so, again, vets, I know this process is frustrating. You may not get the answer you want the first time. And I tell people, when you come to my channel, I'm educating you. This is something that you can do yourself. Just make sure you get educated, you understand the process, and keep in mind it's not perfect, and just don't give up. Keep going. All right, we got Texas in the house. Okay, here we go. Hello, gents. Question: if a more favorable DBQ existed within the VA system before the claim was adjudicated, can that be grounds for an HLR CMP examiner 50%? Okay, people, we have to understand DBQs. They have to be actionable and sufficient. So if it was part of your claim when it was adjudicated and you say grounds for high level review, you're not even at the high level review yet. I have 5 other questions. What did you claim? How did you claim it under the 5 ways of service connection? Where's your DBQ and nexus statement actionable and sufficient? Did they request a CMP exam? Did you go to that CMP exam? If you went to the CMP exam, do you have a copy of it? Did the doctor there give a negative opinion? If so, they gave you a negative opinion. Your doctor gave you a positive opinion. That evidence is in equipoise. If it's in equipoise, you go to the high level review, you're asking the DRO to rate your case based off the evidence of record using the reasonable doubt because the tie goes in favor of your veteran. I think that was more than 5 questions, was it, Dave? I mean, that I had. Yeah. So it's a lot to unpack there before I can even answer that question. Okay. All right. Treating psychologist, total. So I'm assuming that they selected total and social. I have a video how to obtain a single 100% for a mental condition.
Is that more common than not? Or is it most veterans have, they'll have a certain level of it?
Well, I think the big misconception, Dave, is you have some VA employees and you have people out on YouTube land. I'll just leave that right there. They say you cannot be granted 100% for, let's say, PTSD if you're still working. That's incorrect. I've actually rated cases where I gave 100% just for PTSD and people were still working. Now, there's certain criteria, obviously, and one thing that people miss is one thing that I used to look for, if the veteran or physician stated that the veteran need to work in a safe and protected environment. That's one of the things I was looking for, okay? But then, you got a lot of other evidence to go along with it that the veteran may have treatment, whether it be in-house or outside of the VA. But you don't see it a lot, but I have seen it. Seen it. But the big misconception is, oh, you're still working. You can't be 100% for PTSD. That is so false. Okay. All right. Hello from Baton Rouge. Okay. So people, real quick, I'm bringing my webinar back. We stopped this, I want to say over a year ago. This webinar, I'm explaining a couple of things about the VA, but more so, I'm explaining exactly what it is I do. Also, I'm explaining what I don't do. All right. And in the end, I'm going to explain how you can work with me, or even if it's a good fit, right? Because the way I educate veterans might not be what you need. So this webinar, we are doing it May 31st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is free. It's going to last about 45 to 60 minutes, about 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm only going to be taking questions about the services that I provide. That's it. It is not a general Q&A session. If you got questions about the VA compensation, join David and I right here or on my live stream, okay? Let's keep going. And also, make sure you go out to David's YouTube channel, VA Housing Education. I will make you an honorary. Remember, David? David,
thank you.
He got a video for that too, Piatek.
I swear. But if you guys have ideas out there on a slogan, please let me know.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, Bob says, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Bob. And I thank you for all your knowledge. David and I, we were talking, and I'm going to let you chime in here, Dave, how we actually connected.
Yeah, this was in August of 23, right?
Yeah, August 23.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was doing research for my own VA disability, and then I came across Dwayne, and then I saw him on LinkedIn, and I'm like, you know what? Let me hit him up and see what happens. Like, I need some help and some information, and I'm like, you know what? you do a lot of VA disability education, and I'm on the same end, education for the home loan side. So we did a video, and then we just kind of kicked it off from there.
Yeah, yeah, and we've been going strong ever since. We did our 12-hour live stream. Then David flew down to Tampa. We rented out a spot. We went live for an hour Q&A. So the next time I got to go to Chicago, I got to come up to Chicago. I got to come up there during the summer because I just can't do that cold weather again. You know, I just, nah,
But
not
it
built
does
for
get
it.
super humid in here. We can grab some
Yeah.
pizza.
All right, Dave. This is a question for
Yep.
you.
Is there a limit to the number of times you can use your V loan? I used it once to purchase a home in 2009, sold it in 2022, in the market now to buy another home. So, a couple of things with that. So, one, there is no limit on how many times you can use your VA home loan. There's no limit on how many times you can like the actual process of doing it, right? Purchasing, refinancing, that includes both cash out and doing an interest rate reduction refinance loan. So in your case, you owned a home, you sold it. That means you have your full entitlement back, because that's one of the biggest factors for using your VA home loan is going to be your entitlement. Now, to make things really easy, the VA has made two sets of rules, right? One rule is if you don't have an outstanding VA home loan at the time of buying a place, then there's no limit technically on what you can are eligible for, but you have to still qualify for it. So, good example. Let's say you want to buy a $2 million home and you want to put no money down. You can do that with the VA loan. You can do $5 million if you want to. But you have to be able to make the mortgage payments on that property. Now, if it goes back to the old rules, if you're trying to have multiple VA home loans, so if you have your, let's say, right now in 2025, the county single family county loan limit for Fannie Mae is 806,500, right? It's higher in high cost areas, but that's kind of the general piece. So if you have a VA loan at 400,000, that's what you use it for. Then you still have 400, 406, 407, 650 left over, right? Somewhere around there. To still use another VA loan with no money down. So they definitely have some great options with that. But only 13% of veterans have used the VA loan, Dwayne. And I talked to so many veterans that are like, I don't need to use my VA home loan, but they don't realize that they have the ability to help. If they buy it as a primary residence, to buy a home and have their kids live in that home, they could then have their kids assume that loan. If they live in that home as their primary residence and they qualify for tax exemptions, they don't have to pay property taxes. And you don't need to use a VA loan to have that. So I did a video recently about the VA's new resource for veterans that have VA disability, and all the benefits that they have based on each state.
Right. Okay. Okay. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. We have a donation. Let's hop over there. Let's see, we got a question here. Out 10 years, diagnosed pest planus, Haugus valgus, in service, CMP agreed. Would I get approved? You should. I don't see why you shouldn't. But also, this is a good question, Dave, because veterans, I've seen where veterans were actually treated in service once or multiple times, and the examiner came back and said no.
Why?
Sometimes they say it's due to old age or something like that. Okay. So I don't want to say, I say you should. I don't want to say yes. All examiners are different. Okay. But if you were treated in service for it, I'm like, I'd be hard pressed to see them say no. But I have seen them say no before. Okay. Let's get back. As you can see, I have my glasses on because I'm on 2 operating systems. I think it was Grace. Yes. Grace says, on that note, Dwayne, one of the documents in my STRs that the VA has, it states duty to STA is Army, but clearly vet is Navy. Social Security number is correct, name, etc. So what now? I would do 2 things. I'd probably 3. 4. I would submit a VA Form 21-4138 and put that veterans information that shouldn't be in your folder. Send that in using a quick submit link. Call the 800 number, 800 what's the number, Dave? I just forgot. 800-827-1000. Just forgot. And then contact Viera, VERA, let them know as well. Because when they identify that, they're supposed to extract that and put it in the correct veterans electronic claims folder. And that happens sometimes as well. It happened especially when we had paper files. And so if I was waiting or couldn't confirm the veteran was in Vietnam, for example, and that information could be in another veterans claims folder.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so the claim could get denied. I've seen that happen. Okay. So you can do that, Grace. Thank you. There you go, Dave.
Yeah. Can I use a tax exemption in 2 states? So if you are, so what he's talking about is if you're eligible because of your VA disability compensation to be exempt from paying property taxes, you can only have it on one property. Now, there are cases, okay, in rare cases where you have 2 veterans that are married and they both have the disability requirements to meet the tax exemption, and they both live separate. Then if it's your primary residence, you should be able to get exemption on each one. I've only seen it once, right? And it was like some, because it was work related, right? So their primary, one was in Arlington, the other one was in another state. And they were both able to help each other qualify for their own homes, but you can technically do that with the VA loan. So it's pretty cool.
Okay. All right. So can we use a DBQ twice? No. You can send it in twice, but it's not, they're not going to take it and say, oh, I got one DBQ, but they're duplicate, right? That's going to look at it as duplicate. There will be considered new and relevant evidence as it pertains to supplemental claim. Now, if you submitted that DBQ and Nexus with your initial claim, it got denied, and you submit it again, it is not new and relevant evidence. I have a video on what new and relevant evidence is, okay? It's an old video. I probably need to do another one. Annette Baker. How you doing, Annette?
Hello,
Welcome.
Annette.
Thanks for all the support. I did a CUE claim statement. Statement form submitted 2 days after decision. They said I need to do one of the appeals. So doing high-level review, everything is in my files. That's incorrect. You can call the CUE at any time. Guess what?
What's that?
I got 2 videos on CUEs, clear and unmistakable errors. So for example, David, let's just say a veteran puts in an intent to file in 2020, January 2020, and they filed a claim for increase in PTSD in December 2020. And let's say June 2021, they grant the increase from 70 to 100%, but they give the effective date of December 2020, and it should have been January 2020. The vet has some options. They could do a high-level review or call it CUE. The difference is a CUE never expires. High-level review, you have 365 days from the date of the notification letter, not the decision letter, the notification letter. If you let that 365 days expire and you submit that claim, resubmit that claim as a supplemental claim after that, and you win, it will not go back to those earlier dates. Okay. I did a CUE, David, one time. I want to say it's like 2016, 17, maybe earlier than that, 14. And I had to go all the way back to the 80s.
What?
That veteran got a whoo. That was like the lottery, man.
Back to the so how did they get all that money back? They backdated it?
Yeah.
So they didn't have to do the high level. I thought you had to do the high level review.
Sometimes, I think in this instance, I called the CUE. The veteran didn't even submit the CUE. I had to call CUEs on myself. And I talk about this one in videos. I looked at a rating and I'm like, and I'm cussing and fussing. And I'm like, this rater is stupid. They should be fired. you know, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna see who did this and give them a call. Looked at the code sheet, it was me. So
But you didn't fire yourself.
yeah, so I just sat there and I'm like, Dwayne, you stupid. Yeah, I know. What was you thinking? I don't know. So it happens. And it took me like 30 minutes to figure out, what was my thought process. And it was,
Right.
and a lot of times I think when I made an error, it was when it was the end of the pay period and I was behind on my quota and I was rushing.
Right.
And I would look back at the date that I did that rating and the end of the pay period, and it was always around that time. And I was just like, I gotta slow down. But it's just human nature. Like, I'm behind. I gotta rush. I gotta rush. I gotta rush. I gotta rush.
Well,
Okay,
listen,
David, this is for you.
yeah, same thing happens in the VA loan space, right? Where people don't verify everything. They issue people pre-approvals, but then you find out much sooner than later if they deny you on that. So
Yeah.
but again, you guys can reach out because we help a lot of people just answer some questions around their process if they're going through that. Now, this is a really good question. Is the VA interest rate the same across the board, or do various lenders offer different rates? So to give some clarity behind this, the VA doesn't, in general, they don't do VA loans. They do the NADL program, which is Native American Direct Loan Program. So if you're buying on sovereign land and you qualify for this program, the VA sets that rate. Now, that rate expired last month, so I don't know if they've actually announced anything new. So I really don't know what's going on with that piece. So every lender, right, and they made that decision. I forgot if it was like 80s or 90s that they left it to the market to dictate it because the VA didn't want to take that burden on because they're not the ones that are doing the loans. Lenders are doing the loans. So you definitely see a big discrepancy. And it's like I mentioned earlier, is that, we just had someone reach out from watching the videos. They were being charged an extra $8,000 in origination and discount points.
Whoa.
We were able to give them a quarter lower rate with none of those fees. So the veteran got $8,000 back in their pocket. And the funny, not funny, but it's ironic because when I get these phone calls, it's not in the beginning of a process, it's at the end. And that's the thing that, I'm still, and maybe you guys drop a comment down below, like, what happens, when you go under contract? I think a lot of people are really excited. And they're like, oh, I'm buying a place. And they're just like, they fly through the documents. And then later, once you're getting towards the end, you have to start signing off on individual documents. Not like a huge package, which is really easy. Just click DocuSign and you go through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to like, hey, we're almost done with the loan, and you're like, wait a second, I saw the videos, and they're like, oh, veterans get overcharged on average $9,000 for fees, and then you're like, I'm one of those suckers, right? And you don't want to be, because you don't have to be. Okay, that's why it's so important to at least reach out and take a look. A lot of veterans are refinancing right now. Dwayne, I look at a lot of these, and I tell people, don't do it. I tell them don't do it because once you factor in the costs of it, even though the VA allows you to do it, it doesn't mean it makes sense.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of times when I talk with people, Dwayne, I always give advice like if it was me doing it, right? And I think a lot of people value that because it's not. I don't care what you do. I just want you to be happy and not spend too much money.
Right.
That's kind of the key to that. And a lot of veterans too. And then, well, you should watch my video. I have a video on understanding closing costs because a lot of this goes with this fees, because some lenders will underdisclose fees on purpose, but then they hide other fees in credits, which I've seen that's so wild to me. And then veterans compare the wrong thing, and then when they get to closing, it all would have been the same. Now they're just paying too much money. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so
Now,
definitely in that process, happy to schedule a call with you. I promise I don't bite. It would be about 15 to 30-minute call, but then you get questions answered, right? And I'll point one last thing out because it annoys me. I went and bought a car recently, and again I have to buy a car again, and I went to the car dealership, and man, whew, these people are badgers. Like I would not believe, but I get this complaint a lot from veterans as well, where they harass me, they call me all the time, and that's something that I don't believe in. And if you've called me and worked with me, I'm cool as a cucumber. You want to work together, great. If not, like, I get it, but just know what you're doing in that process, because I don't like seeing veterans get taken advantage of, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, that's just it's not in my DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back. We
All right,
got a
next
couple
one is
of
for me as well.
yeah. I'll let you take that, and I'll get to some of the donations here.
You want to get to donation
No, we'll
first?
get to it after
Okay.
Grace Smith.
Grace, David, I remember you mentioned active duty can purchase a home, but what if they aren't in the state they stationed and that they want to buy the house? Okay, so a great question. So this only applies for active duty personnel, this statement. If you're on active duty, let's say you're stationed at Fort Benning or something like that, and then you want to buy a home in Chicago, but you're not stationed in Chicago, nor do you have orders for Chicago. We've seen this plenty of times done. A child or spouse must be able to meet the occupancy requirement. So a dependent a child or spouse can live in that property and meet the requirement for primary residence. And then there's technically no limit on when the veteran has to move into that property. But if you're out of the service, then you only have you have 60 days to move into a place with no explanation, and you have up to a year that they can grant an extension. So make sure that and if you're in the Guard or Reserve, that gets even trickier, because it depends on if you're on temporary orders or if you're on 1-year contract orders, if you're AGR technician. All that's going to make a big difference. So guard members probably have it the toughest if they're kind of doing in between things. But again, I know all about it since I'm in it. I know I think probably that's the one thing where we'll excel at. We'll be like, all right, because those are the harder ones, like National Guard members that they get active time, they're part salary, part is a commission, but they just came off a deployment. How do you calculate the income, right? So there's challenges that veterans face. You don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dave, you know who this is. This is Chris. Chris joined us last year on the live, and he's back. Good to see you, Chris. Thank you for all the support. Hope everything is going good out there in the great state of Texas.
Woo.
All right.
It's hot there now.
Oh, yeah. One of our members, Rhonda Dunbar, gave a donation. Definitely appreciate it, Rhonda. And thank you for being a member. Okay, let's get back. I always hate this because it doesn't
Going back. Yeah.
You got to go back.
I wish it would be like a check mark to say, hey, you already entered.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute.
Hold
if
up.
I can find Grace, I remember Grace. That's what I normally look for. Like, where's Grace at?
Yeah, great questions, Grace.
Yeah. Dwayne, can I request a CNP exam for my claim? The VA denied my claim for left hip replacement, but had an exam that I didn't have to be present for. I would feel more comfortable if I was actually asked why I feel that my hip replacement should be service connected. The VA service connected my right hip. Okay, you threw me for a loop there, Dwayne. Left hip. Okay, left hip and right hip. So I'm assuming you claim the right hip secondary to the left hip. I did a video where I explained what ACE exams are. Got 2 videos. I just did one this year on ACE exams. ACE exams are prohibited for musculoskeletal joints because they have to measure that joint. So if they gave you an ACE exam for musculoskeletal and the rater denied it, the rater is wrong. High level review. Hey, I can't remember the M21-1 that prohibits ACE exams for certain body systems. Watch that video, high level review. Hey, I need an actual CNP exam because They didn't use a goniometer to measure my range of motion. The rater should have caught that. Okay. That's why it's important to be educated. We got Strong Face said had a DBQ and Nexus. It did a CMP exam for PTSD, got 50%. That happens.
Well, it's a
But
three-part.
wait a minute. Requested claims file, waiting on it, but HLR is in effect. Okay. I could tell Strong Face more than likely you're not a subscriber to the channel. Here's why. You hear me talk about you got an actionable and sufficient DBQ as a rating specialist. I was trained by the VA to determine if that DBQ and Nexus statement was actionable and sufficient. Veterans will submit the DBQ and Nexus statement. Yep, no exam needed because it's actionable and sufficient. I can grant the benefits without a CMP exam. But you got service connected. So you're saying you're going to a high level review because they only gave you 50%. You don't have your claims folder. If that exam and your DBQ shows 50%, that's it. Now, if your DBQ showed 70%, now you need to determine if it was actionable and sufficient, because if it wasn't, then everything else in there could be void. Okay? But again, that's where someone will have to look at that evidence to make that determination. Okay? Woo. I just wonder how I remember this stuff from time to time, right? Hello, is hearing loss and tinnitus, whatever you want to call it, that found out from a CMP exam from an audiologist, is that a service-connected claim by chance? I'm not understanding that, Scott. You're throwing me one of those curveballs there, okay? Just keep in mind, well, I tell you what, Scott, I'll make it easy for you. I got a video, 2 videos on how to win your claim for tinnitus. And in those videos, I am explaining acoustic trauma. You have to be able to explain that, okay? Hair metal revolution. That's a colorful
We have
name.
no hair.
Yeah.
There's no revolution here.
Ball.
Right.
Well, ball head revolution.
Yeah.
Hello, great people. Thank you for chiming in. Looking at my VA record, it shows that I was not service connected for some conditions. I did not file for those conditions. VA is treating me for them. Should I file for them? Yes and no. Yes, if they fall under the 5 ways of service connection. No, if you don't know what the 5 ways of service connections are. Okay, you have to make that determination first. And I talk about it in my book, VA Claim Success, but you don't even have to get the book. I got several videos where I'm talking about the 5 ways of service connection. You can watch it for free. Okay, but it's totally up to you. In the book, I have some additional information. Okay. And, someone told me one time, they said, Dwayne, why should I buy your book when all that information is online? Well, some of the topics that I'm talking about are online. But you know what's not online that's in the book? Is the way that I'm explaining it to help you succeed as a former VA rater trained by the VA. That's the difference. Okay. You have to understand that education piece. I know, David, you and I, we'll just be talking about some business and then we'll just jump into some VA claim stuff. And I know sometimes I'll just start explaining stuff. I know you'd be like, man, this guy, wait a minute. What?
Yes.
We'll talk, or you'll ask me something about somebody told you, or ask you on your channel, and that's where the education comes in. I was on Zoom today with a client, and we spent about 40 minutes in the M21-1, and I'm showing him equipoise, reasonable doubt, weighing of the evidence. And actually, the M21, what I really like about the M21-1, a couple of things. One, you can search it like Google, right?
Oh.
and they give examples in some cases. So if you go to a high level review, just use the information that the VA employees are supposed to follow, because 9 times out of 10, that VA employee didn't go through that M21-1 like I would have. So
Yeah.
you have to be that person to point it out to them.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. It's similar on the VA home loan side. So the other day was asking about what lenders differ as far as rates, but the surprising thing is that you can go to one lender and get denied, and another one you can get approved because it's similar, right? We have the VA handbook. That's literally what it's called, right? So if you go to the search va.gov and put VA handbook, it's going to take you to it. It's publicly available information, right? But like Dwayne said, it's all about the experience you have doing something. That, like, I'm with you, Dwayne. Sometimes I'm like, how do I come up, like, pull all this together in out of thin air and be like, how do we structure something? And that's because, one, it's experience, and two, it's how you read it is going to make the difference. Because if you're interpreting it the wrong way, you could be going down that rabbit hole and you might be wrong the whole time. And it's okay.
Yeah.
But as long as you acknowledge it, and then you can fix it, because both having VA disability compensation is a big step into home ownership too, right? You can get property tax break. It's extra money, gives you some additional stability. You don't have to pay the VA funding fee, right? All those things kind of blend together and they work together. So,
right. Thank you for sharing that, Dave. All right, let's keep going. Good evening. How can I increase my PTSD rating? I can tell by that question that you're not a subscriber to the channel, because I got a video on that. I'm currently at 30%, got a high level review, did a second psychiatric evaluation, Zoom call, and was still denied any additional compensation. All right. On the average, I used to see as a rater, veterans that claim PTSD, depression, or whatever, the average percentage was 70%. Okay.
Yep.
So if you're at 30%, make sure you watch my video on how to obtain a single 100% for a mental condition. Now, it's not to say, hey, go after that 100%. But the way I'm describing what you need to be looking at in the rating criteria will be the same if you're trying to go from 30 to 50 or 30 to 70. You have to look at the 50 and 70% criteria. Do you have those symptoms? Are you explaining those symptoms when you go to that C&P exam? I guarantee you, if you go to the diagnostic code criteria and it's in the rating decision, they'll tell you we're confirming and continuing at 30%. And I got a video on what is confirmed and continue, right? They'll tell you why they confirmed to continue to 30%, but also they'll tell you why the 50% was not warranted. So when you go into that C&P exam, you need to be talking about the 50 or 70%, the higher percentage that you feel you meet, instead of just going in there willy-nilly and just saying anything. That's key. Okay. I'm at 70% right now. I just did a C&P for mental and some secondary, so I'm just waiting. Stay in the fight. I watch your content like it's my duty. I don't even watch TV. Yeah. Hey, there you go. That's what you got to do. And, Dave, this is one thing I tell vets. Before you even call me, before you even sign up and purchase any of my educational services, watch my channel.
Yeah.
You can ask me questions. If you look at my comments, I normally respond to 95 to 98% of the comments. Now, if the comments are like 4 paragraphs long, which I've had that before, I'm not reading all that. I'm sorry, because they're asking me, hey, can you go to your YouTube channel and give me the link? Come on now. Really? Or
they have
look
the
up
search feature. It's right in the
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah. Or Dwayne, can you explain the difference between these 10 38 CFRs? You want me to go look at all 10 and give you an explanation? Come on now. Why invest the time? That's the key. And I'm pretty sure it's like this on home loan, because you just said it.
Yep.
Understanding the VA home loan manual, that book, or just the process. And if you still have questions, you know what? Let me reach out to David or somebody on his team and be like, Dave, this is what I'm trying to do. This is the way I think I should be doing it. Am I right or am I wrong? And David's going to put you on the right track. Right. Same way with the VA compensation side. Leave me a comment. I'll give you an answer, the best answer based on the information you're giving me. But then you could come to events like this that we have,
right,
and ask the question. Simple as that. And this is free. It's free.
$3.99.
And Dave, before you and I connected, I think 2 years prior, I was doing this every other Wednesday. And really? I was going live. My average time I was live was about 2.5 hours. Sometimes I would go 3.
Oh, wow.
And I still wouldn't get through all the questions. And people were like, I'm like, I'm on here for 3 hours and you can't come in here for like 20 minutes and ask your question, but you got to get in here early, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Man service exam said I had pest planets, mild. I was airborne with 30 jumps, never went on sick call. Can I file a claim now since my condition has gotten worse? Yes. You have to let them know exactly what you just said there. That's it. Okay. Dave, this is for you.
Yep. Come August, I'm going to refinance my home purchase before I joined the service. I'm out now and want to use my home loan to lower my mortgage payment. David, I spoke with you before. Do I schedule an appointment? Yes. Yeah. So it's I'm glad that you brought this up. Can you see me?
You went away.
Did I? I think my camera's not liking me. Hold on 1 second.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? It should be on. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
We got like 8 minutes left before we're done. But yeah, this is a great question. So if you let's say you bought a house with a conventional loan, right? And you joined the service and now you're eligible for the V loan. You can refinance into a V loan after you've made 6 payments and it's been 210 days. So yeah, you could do that. So definitely schedule a call with me in the description down below, and I can happy to walk you through that.
All right, cool. Let's keep going. That's Infinity.
Next one was from do you have to prove your income to get a higher loan amount? So yeah, so anytime a lender is giving you there's a caveat. VA loans outside of an interest rate reduction refinance loan, which only requires you to source an income source. So if you have a $10,000 mortgage payment, but you have 10% of VA disability, you still can do an interest rate reduction refinance loan. That's all they're looking at. And the source of income, not what your income is. But if for a cash out refinance or buying a home, they're going to look at your income. So yes, typically the higher your income is, the more you can qualify for. And for my self-employed people out there, no one likes paying taxes. And yes, this hurts you at the end of the day because people are like, oh, I make $100,000 a year. Then I look at their taxes. You make negative $20,000 a year. So we have to use negative 20. It's what your after expense income is and what you claim on your taxes. So be really careful with that. I know we just finished up tax season and we've been seeing some questionable tax returns where I'm like, you shouldn't have done this because now you disqualified yourself from buying a home. Self-employed, you should be calling me 2 years out, right? 2 years out. And even if you have a W-2 job, for everyone out there, making $100,000 a year, let's say that. But if you have a side hustle that loses $50,000 a year, guess what? $50,000 is now your income, right? It deducts from your W-2 income. So you have to be really careful. Don't be messing around and then be like, oh, I didn't know, because now you know. You got to reach out so we can go through it.
I ran into that when I first started my business. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had enough other income, but it lowered it. I was like, whoa.
Yes. I was like, and then veterans try to be real sneaky. And then they're like, oh, I am W-2 employee, because if you put that on an application, right, and you run our automated system, it doesn't request tax returns, right? It'll tell you no tax returns required. So they'll be like, oh, you slide under the radar. but lenders have access to tools to search if you have a company. So if you have a company that's registered, that might pop up like a week before closing. And we're like, wait a second, you own a company. We need tax returns now. Now you show tax returns. You got some tiers. Now you got to explain to your spouse what happened. And, so it's not a good position to be in. And that's why it's important. Like, you want to be upfront as much as possible, because the more information, from my end, we can structure. It's like the matrix, right? If you just give me pieces, doing the same thing via disability. If you give someone just the pieces they want to hear, they're painting a different picture than if having the entire piece of what you're trying to do.
Right. All right, let's keep going. Can you file for TDIU for and alongside a condition that isn't rated yet, but has a high probability of being approved? Yes, you can. And let me tell you this, people. You better darn well understand TDIU. I got a couple of videos on it because, David, what a lot of people don't understand, TDIU is not a standalone claim. It is a claim for increase in the service-connected conditions that you state prevent you from gainful employment. And then if you go to that exam for that increase, that percentage has been in effect less than 5 years, it shows improvement. The examiner jacks up the exam and it shows improvement. Now proposal to reduce, TDIU denied, and you could be going from 90 to 30%. I've seen it and I've rated some of those cases, all because the vet did not understand TDIU. Trust me, people. All right, let's get to this donation. Strong Face, thank you. Definitely appreciate it. We got about 4 minutes, David. So now I got to go back. Got to find
rapid fire through these.
There we go. Grace Smith, will do. Thank you. Not a problem. Marvin Jenkins, Milwaukee. Hopefully it's not snoring up there.
No, man, he's right down the street from me.
Yeah. We probably
warm.
about an hour from Milwaukee?
Yeah, about 45 minutes now. Yeah.
Okay. How long should I wait to file a high-level review after receiving a proposal to reduce? Oh, wait a minute. Dito girl, you got about 30 days, that proposal. Don't do a high-level review. Make sure you read your notification letter. Take advantage of the RVSR hearing option. Don't worry about it. Guess what? I got a video on that RVSR hearing. Okay. Ooh, she about to mess up.
This one's for me. Where do I check my AZ? Arizona has tax exemption for my property. Last year they said only for 100% disability. I started at 20, now at 80, and now working at 100. So you definitely have to check the county assessor's office for where you live. That's the easiest thing. Call them, your local county treasury or assessor's office.
County
clerk. The county clerk, and then they'll be able to walk you through that.
All right. Okay. I was granted 100% for majestic lung cancer diagnostic code, but my claim was for lung cancer for asbestosis 6833. How do I get the correct diagnostic code? It's a lung condition. I wouldn't mess with it. Bestie Retro 80K. Yep, she got paid. Yo, come through every single piece of paper. Yep, you are correct. We lost visual, David.
Oh man, I think it's just not like.
Do you have any information on videos about chapter 30, 33, 35? 35, I do. I filed a claim for lung cancer. Okay, we just hit that one. Why not diagnostic code 68333 that refers to asbestosis? I mean, you got the 100%. I would have to go back to the CMP exam and see what diagnosis they gave you. Okay. You're getting the knowledge in the book. Buy the book. There it is, people. You can pick up the book in the description section. Got 2 links, one to my Shopify account. I will send you a signed copy. Dave got his signed copy right here
in
my living room, in person. Yep. If you go through Amazon, probably get a little bit faster, but it will not be signed. Rhonda Dunbar says, I have the book. Dito girl, Rhonda, let others know in the comment section what you think about the put. Put some, if anybody has the book, put fire emojis in the comments. Let me know, hey, that book was fire. This is you, Dave.
That's our last question of the evening. I had a foreclosure on a VA home loan about 25 years ago. I have a $300,000 balance. I have a $300,000 balance after it was sold. Is there any way to give a forgiveness and obtain another VA loan? I'm 100% PNT. So this is the thing. If you had a foreclosure, you only lost a portion of your benefits. You can still use your VA home loan. So schedule a call with me. Let's pull your certificate of eligibility. And then let's determine how much you have left over to use the VA home loan. But the VA doesn't just forgive, like if you had a foreclosure. I've had veterans from 30, 40 years ago that had a foreclosure on a $20,000 house they had, and they still have their entitlement, a portion of their entitlement locked out. So it's okay. But yeah, definitely, schedule a call so we can go through that.
Dave, I need 60 seconds of your time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. You know who that is, right?
Oh, yeah.
You still got them contractors in the house.
I know.
All right. All right, Blue Fly Frat. Hope to see you in Tampa at the Conclave in July. I will be at the Conclave. Make sure you come up, shake my hand, and get a picture with me. It'll be in downtown Tampa. Here's one for you, Dave.
Just got in. Is there anything new on the VA foreclosure assistance program? So, as you guys know, VASP program is gone. They are working on a replacement program for VASP, but it's like in the early stages. They're trying to push it along to give the secretary more power in this program. And when the VASP program initially came out, I was surprised that they came out with that program because I didn't know how it would be feasible for the VA to do it, because the VA is not designed to service mortgages. So they've given them more flexibility as far as this new proposal on what they can do. But I also believe it's a temporary solution. It's like a 3-year solution or something. But yeah, I'm going to drop a video on that here soon.
Okay. Make sure you get in that webinar, because I'm doing some things. We no longer do consultations. We do private Q&As. Make sure you get in that webinar, because I'm going to be explaining how you can get signed up for that. And I'm going to do those twice a month. David, last question here. I can tell this person is maybe new and not a subscriber to your YouTube channel.
Dude, what's the best way to get in touch with you regarding VA home loans? If you check out my channel, VA Housing Education, on any of my videos, you'll see a way to schedule a call with me. And then also in the actual description of this video down below, you'll be able to click a button to my Calendly and actually schedule a call with me so we can go over any questions that you have.
All right, people, that is it. David stuck around for 3 minutes. We are over.
3 minutes is nothing, but I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Hey, it was a pleasure. Sorry we didn't get through all the questions. We will be doing this the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also go live the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you get signed up for my webinar May 31st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's on a Saturday, so I can explain to you what it is I do, what I don't do, and how you can work with me. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veteran. Thank you.
All right, see you guys. Have a good evening.